Car Matchmaker is back for a shiny new season.
Wow, look at this thing.
Not bad, right?
Not bad at all.
Everyone wants a ride that gets their wheels turning and their engine revving.
That's pretty sharp right there.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
But she always knows her place. She's got style, she's got grace. She's a winner.
I love it.
Wait till you drive this thing.
She's a lady.
Wow.
So no matter the class, color, or body type,
Beautiful.
if it's love you're after,
Obsessed.
host Spike Feresten is here to help.
Check it out. Wow.
It looks like it's out of a science fiction movie.
Can it get any better than this?
It's like speed dating,
You know, self-tingle.
only faster.
Is it fast enough?
Oh, yeah.
Stop the show right now. We found the car.
Car Matchmaker. Season 2 on demand now. New season premieres tonight at 9. Only on Esquire Network.
Spike, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
New York, not really a car city. Yet we're going to
This
talk
is true.
cars.
We're going to talk cars. I mean, not a car city, but, you know, Jerry Seinfeld lives here. He's got the most cars, I would say.
He does. He doesn't keep them here. They're all in L.A.
That's where your cars are as well, right?
Well, yeah, I live there. That's where I live. Why would I keep my cars here and live in L.A.?
Fair enough. Clearly, I didn't do my research.
I'm sorry. I hope I'm not getting too combative early on.
Yeah, right
I'll
right
wait
off the
for
bat.
their questions, and then I'll get combative.
You don't know where I live? Wikipedia me.
You don't know where I store my cars? What's wrong with you?
So this is the third season of the show,
Yes.
right? And
Yep.
tonight is your first motorcycle episode with a very big guest star.
Yes, we are helping a young woman find her first motorcycle, and Keanu Reeves is coming along for the ride to share his expertise on. Mostly he shared about how much he crashes in Hollywood, which you wouldn't think. You know, I lived on the same street as Keanu for many years, and every day, rain or shine, he'd come down that road on an old Norton motorcycle, even in the rain. So the guy is a true motorcycle guy. And he started a motorcycle company called Arch Moto, and they've made their first bike, the KR GT1, KR4.
Keanu Reeves.
He says no, but I suspect yes. And he helps this young woman pick out a motorcycle.
So what's, not to give too much of an advertisement for Keanu Reeves' motorcycle company, but what made him start a company, or should we wait till tonight's episode?
No. His partner is a guy named Gard Hollinger, who's a customizer, and he had been working with Gard on bikes and wanting all these different parts for his bikes, and apparently bothering Gard a lot with work. And Gard finally said, "Why don't we just make a new bike? You know, you seem to know so much about it. Why don't we create a bike together?" And now they have that company.
Now, are you a motorcycle guy?
I am, more so than a car guy, yeah. When my first car that I bought with my own money was a motorcycle. And my first vehicle before I even was old enough to drive was a motorcycle. An old Japanese bike called a Hodaka Combat Wombat that my uncle...
Sorry. Combat Wombat makes...
Combat Wombat, two-stroke, weird motorcycle that I knew nothing about, but my uncle knew I loved motorcycles, and he said, "I'm going to store my motorcycle in your garage and tell your dad that you need to start it every week and drive it." And that was my, first vehicle. You know, really, it's a way to drive away from your parents' house when you think about it, right? And that's why I think I like cars and motorcycles so much.
Now, are motorcycles as dangerous as I think that they are?
No, not at all.
They scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, you're an organ donor, essentially. I'm not going to lie to you and say that they're not, but, here's what I do. I have kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I limit my risk. There's risk in just about everything we do in life, right? There's even risk here. You're going to get hit in the head with a camera in a minute, and we're going to have to take you to the hospital.
No, he's very good.
Hematoma.
He's
Right.
very good. I want to...
AOL has a lot of money, though, so don't worry about it. You're going to sue them back to the Stone Age, but... The motorcycles, so I rode once. I did my August ride last week when my family was out of town. And yeah, they're dangerous. Especially in a city like this or in LA.
After you had kids and you got on your motorcycle, did it change the way you rode the bike? Were you just immediately on the bike and like, oh, my kids?
I'll tell you what truly changed it. One of my best friends is a personal injury attorney. And every week he gets these cases come in, and he sends me the pictures. I was riding a lot, and he just tweets me the picture. He goes, "You want to end up like this guy? His brain is mashed potatoes." And, after a while, you'd start to hear he would be taking depositions. I remember the one woman he took a deposition from who ran over a guy on a motorcycle. He said, you know, the bike was right to your left. Didn't you use your mirrors? She goes, what for? She goes, well, to see if anyone's there. She goes, I don't care. And this guy was a quadriplegic now, that she did a lane change and ran him over and just, you know, didn't care. So that's out there on the road. So, you know, be careful.
3 seasons of Car Matchmaker, I'd imagine you've gotten pretty good at matching people with the car that best suits them.
I was doing this long before the show. If there are any of you out there who are car people, or any of you guys car collectors or anything, you like cars, no, none of them. They're a girl rinker nose back there. I guess I'll help you. But if you're that person in your neighborhood, people come to you for advice, and you give the advice. And it's just your function in society and your social group, right? I just happen to have had a lot of success because I've owned a lot of different vehicles, from very inexpensive junkers growing up to very nice performance cars. And I don't know, I just have my point of view on it is this is what it's really like, as opposed to what the advertisement tells me what it's like. So I like to either share my experience of owning the car, what it's like to really own that car, and a step out of it, you know, in front of your friends and family or coworkers. And if I don't know what it's like, I usually know the people who do. You know?
Well, I told you this in the green room. You told me to bring it up here. I literally just purchased a car 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
This is not a lie. This is just a coincidence that he's here the same week that I purchased.
Are you happy?
Well, I've driven it once, home from the dealership. I parked it on the street, and I'm going to drive it upstate this weekend, but I've just sort of left on the street. I'll have to move it tonight for the street sweeping. But yeah.
That's not the answer to my question. I asked you a question. Are you happy?
I'm very happy with it.
That didn't sound very believable, did it, right? I'm very happy with it.
I have to get used to the idea of owning something that I have to take care of, basically.
Right. Like
I have a
dog.
2013 certified Volkswagen Tiguan.
Okay.
And it drives it drives pretty nice.
Right.
Drives well. But that's it. Did I pick a match? I don't know. How do we do this?
No, that's a very good question. First of all, you sound like you're almost there, right? You sound like you're almost there. You probably walked into the dealership not knowing what you were going to buy, or wherever you bought this, or how did you arrive at this car, Volkswagen Tiguan?
Started with the Subaru. Wanted like a small SUV for my girlfriend because she's a little smaller, so she wanted something with visibility that was safe.
Right.
We started with the Forester. She had owned Volkswagens before this, and so she wanted me to test drive a Volkswagen to see if I liked it. It was a smoother ride. It was a bit more, I don't want to say luxurious, because that's an overstatement of, I think, the Volkswagen, but it was a little nicer on the interior. And so we test drove it at Bay Ridge Volkswagen.
Wow,
Shout out
there you go, folks.
Shout out to Bay Ridge Volkswagen. Hey, guys. Left you guys a solid Yelp review.
It is one of the few mob-run Volkswagen dealerships left in the country in Bay Ridge.
I have a feeling it is.
Yeah.
And
I want to know, why is your girlfriend calling these shots? Like, you're not even married yet. Why does she have all this power in your relationship? Seriously.
That's a really hard question to answer, Spike.
Are you living together with her? Or?
Yeah, we live together, yeah.
You live together, okay. So you're in a domestic relationship of some kind, and you're going to share it. Is she helping you pay for it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. All right.
It's our car.
All right, so you arrive. It sounds like you've done all of the groundwork and done a really good job. Here's what I'll tell you, because it's very true. You need 3 real days with your car to know whether you love it. The first day, there's remorse and a lot of anxiety. Like, I don't know how the radio works or the infotainment or any of that stuff. The second day, you start to know how it works a little bit, and you're driving, you're like, okay. This is the stage I think you're in right now, is the second experience. I got to park it, I got to keep it here, but it's kind of working. The next time you get in it, I would say the next weekend drive, really pay attention to how you feel, and you'll know right then whether you like it or not.
Yeah, the current experience that I have is like, it's on the street. I hope no one sideswipes it. I hope the mirror doesn't get taken off. I just bought this
What
thing.
is going on with these bumper diaper things that you guys have here? What is that? Because presumably it's someone who really wants to take care of their car, but then there's this giant black diaper on the back of it, and you're like, God, I would rather have a ding than that thing hanging off the back of my car.
But I have to say, you know what I noticed about buying a car that I don't think I ever realized is that the smartphone is the most incredible enemy of the used car salesman. it's an unbelievable experience because they'll tell you one thing because that's their job.
Right.
Nothing against this car dealership. It's the salesman's job to do this.
Don't talk about that car dealership.
I know,
like that.
Bay
You're gonna
Ridge,
end up in the
tough
river.
guy, yeah.
Bay Ridge Volkswagen.
Cement blocks on my feet.
That's right. We love that.
But
place.
as soon as you're told one thing, they walk away, and you can be like, is that true? Hey, that's not true. Let's knock that. Let's do this.
No. You're putting up something very. How many people here love car dealerships? Nobody. Nobody likes them because you get sweated in there, right? You walk in, a guy takes your license. They want you to sit there for 4 or 5 hours,
Let
and
me
they
talk
want
to my manager about this
Exactly.
for 40 minutes.
That's a bunch of BS. I don't know if we can swear here, but
can.
you know what I'm saying is here are a couple things to know if you are going to go through a dealership, and unless you know the dealership, I sometimes recommend you don't use them. You use car consultants. They have the relationships. They know the good salesmen. You pay them a little bit, and they'll take care of the whole experience for you. But if you are going to go into the dealership, you have to have done your research. You have to know what you're going to pay going in. You have to know what you're going to buy. The exact car, the model, you have to know. Give them 30 minutes to make progress towards a deal, towards the price that you want to pay. If there is not sufficient progress in that 30 minutes, you walk and you do not look back. You turn around and you walk out. Another thing is no sympathy. And by that, I mean when he goes back, he's like, look, I'd like to give you that discount, but I just got divorced, and, well, they're taking out another kidney. I only had one, and now they're taking that one out.
We're making no money on this right now. We're selling it to you for below what we bought it
Nothing.
for.
No sympathy for the car dealer. He's the devil. And again, if he's playing that note, you walk out. There's plenty of cars out there for you to buy. There's plenty of cars.
Absolutely.
And the dealership, as you've said, you always leave with this kind of uneasy feeling like, did I just get screwed?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Even if you feel like you won,
Yeah.
an hour later, you're like, did I win?
Did I win?
I don't know.
Been better. Private
Because why
party-
would they sell it to me if I was winning? Because
Right.
clearly they want to win too.
Exactly. So, do your research and figure it out.
So what has been with Car Matchmaker? You've hosted a late night show
Right.
before,
Yes.
and you were a writer of some of the greatest comedy shows of the '90s and after. Excuse me.
The single guy and Friends. No.
Well, no, Seinfeld,
Seinfeld, yes.
and Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which
Right.
in my opinion is
Better than Seinfeld.
no. I mean, Seinfeld is Seinfeld is comfort food for me. at this
Right,
point.
right.
If you put it on, I'm happy watching that more so than anything in the world, I think. But Space Ghost was revolutionary to me in terms of comedy when I was in
That show.
college.
Yeah,
It was so
I only
incredible.
wrote a couple episodes of it, but I wrote on it because I was a fan like you. When I saw it, it just blew my mind.
Can I ask what was the writers' room like on Space Ghost? How did that even work? Because it was so anachronistic and crazy and abstract. The humor, there was nothing like it at the time.
Well, there was no writer's room. I wrote by satellite with a guy I write with occasionally, Steve O'Donnell, who created the top 10 list on David Letterman. He was the original head writer there. And it's here's how it works. We kind of had a rough idea of what an episode could look like because we had written for Letterman, and we did kind of a late show version of it for Space Ghost. And what they do is they have a list of celebrities that Space Ghost has interviewed. And by that I mean the voice of Space Ghost. And, it was, people like, I remember Gene Garofalo was in one, and REM, and
You get real celebrities.
they got real celebrities for the show, and they send you the interview with their dopey questions and the answers, and then you can do whatever you want with her responses or their responses. So, you write this little, I don't know, it was probably only 10 or 15 pages of script, and then get to the Janine Garofalo interview, and, she's, what's your favorite food? They asked, pizza. So you just write, hey, what are you laying in the bathtub? She goes, pizza. You laying pizza in the bathtub? You can change any question you want to her genuine response and make them look any way you choose to make them. And the weirder, the better. And that's what, as a writer, what really appealed to me was there's no rules here. I can just get abstract and odd. And I'm talking, comedy for the pot smokers like that guy right there. It's just, the stuff that they're watching after a few bong rips.
Like I said, revolutionary for me in college.
Right.
Big time for
We all know what you were saying when you said I like Space Ghost.
But how do you, when you go into making a show like Car Matchmaker,
Yes.
obviously there are things that you can take and not take from all of the experience that you've drawn upon over the years working in
Right.
television? How do you do that going into Car Matchmaker? And how do you sort of not bring some of the stuff that you loved doing before that maybe doesn't fit into the mold of Car Matchmaker?
Well, I do a lot of different stuff. You know, Car Matchmaker is 2 months out of my life shooting a show, and you know, it combined two things that I happen to love: cars and comedy. I was just telling someone that an episode tonally is very much like a remote piece that you might see in a late night show. So on Conan or on Dave, like, you know, Conan and Andy. Andy had to go lease a car, so I decided to tag along with him, and here's what we shot. So that could be a remote on Conan. Without the written jokes of that piece, just the kind of talking and funny and tomfoolery and buffoonery, that's Car Matchmaker. When I pitched the show, I said, I'm not going to do a straight reality show about cars. I'm not interested in that. I love cars, but as long as I can be myself and, you know, have fun with the audience and with the buyer, you know, then I'll totally do that. And now here we are in our 3rd season. It's really a dream job for me, you know.
You like legit love cars personally.
I really like cars, but I also like the whole world. I mean, you know, I was just up in Monterey, and I get a tap on the shoulder from Michael Strahan. He's like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to bother you. And I'm like, okay, Michael Strahan. It's like, just gonna say I love Car Matchmaker. I like cars. It's like the secret thing. Like,
I love the idea of Michael Strahan being small. Like, sorry, I didn't mean it's like,
no, he's kind of
sorry, I didn't mean to bother you.
Like, we were shooting, and I was like, no, it's cool. I had no idea you were into this thing. And it's, you know, as your audience, that girl in the back row when she went cars like that, that's most of the world, right? That's most of the world. And it's when you find another guy who likes to talk about this stupid stuff, you know, you're fast friends, and it doesn't matter, you know, where you are, what you do. It's like, hey, let's just sit down and get some of this out of our mouths and head.
Well, that's got to be such an odd thing, not an odd thing to find, but you know, you spend these years working in comedy, which if you're a comedy nerd or someone who writes comedy, when you find people that you can talk about comedy with and a career in that, that becomes a whole thing for you. Then all of a sudden you have this other hobby that very few people, I think, in comedy share, except for maybe Bono and Seinfeld.
I mean, look at it from my point of view here, all right? So I like cars. I go to work as an intern at 30 Rock for Saturday Night Live and David Letterman, and then I get hired as a writer eventually on David Letterman. And Dave, in his first couple of weeks, hears that I like cars. And I mean, I just kind of like cars. I like to drive around in them. I don't really know all that much about it. And, you know, his assistant comes down. We're going out to L.A. for the Emmys, which I'm not nominated. I'm just the new writer on staff. And she says, Dave wants you to come to his airplane hangar in Santa Monica and drive some of his cars with him. I'm like, what? I go, just come meet him down there Saturday at 9 in the morning, and he wants to show you his car collection and let you drive some of them. I go, what does he have? It's like Ferraris and Porsches. I'm like, what? You know, I think I'm being pranked, you know, but this is that, you know, and
he found someone. It was someone new that he could show his collection with and talk to.
Now I realized right away I've got much less chance of being fired right now because until my writing gets up to speed, now I can do the car thing, and he's never really gonna, you know.
Did you like bone up on your research about his cars beforehand, so when you got into the hangar, you could be like, oh yeah, absolutely, Porsche.
No. It was too terrifying. The whole thing was terrifying. I mean, this is a show I had grown up watching. This is a guy I idolize, and I frankly didn't want to meet him. I wanted to write for him because I don't want to say or do anything out of turn in the beginning until I can establish myself as a writer. When you're writing on that show, or at least in the day, you can be fired every 13 weeks. You get 13-week contracts, so that means somewhere in week 9, contractually, they have to tell you whether you're going to stay on or not. So that whole week, you're just, you know, you're trying to hide.
Does that exist for every writer on the show who's even been there for like a couple
of years? I don't know, but it was just the way it was, you know, when I was there. But I lasted 5 years. I actually like the pressure. I mean, it keeps me moving along. So moving back to the Saturday morning, I've been told, press the buzzer, Dave will buzz you into the airport. There's a gate there. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, I don't even know L.A. all that well, but I press the buzzer. It's quiet. And then suddenly, yeah. Yeah. Hey, Dave, it's Spike Feresten, the writer. I'm supposed to meet you here. And then it's just silent for a while. And then he goes, what the fuck do you want? Just like that. And I'm white hot, terrified, and just nervous. He goes, I'm just kidding with you, Spike. Come on in. And then he buzzes the gate, and we go in, and there are all these beautiful cars. And he hands me the keys to one of his beautiful Porsches. Car I really didn't know much about, and he says, go ahead, you know, go ahead, take it out for a drive. I'm like, what do you mean? You know, this is a pretty valuable car. He goes, just Get over it, get out in the road and drive out in Santa Monica. I know, right? And I broke down. I got a mile down Ocean Park, and I got on the throttle, and I heard a and whatever little wire connected the foot pedal to the engine broke, and now I'm on the side of the road with David Letterman's car going, what?
He's not with you.
He's not with me. No, he didn't want to ride in the car with me. He's like, I'm not getting in the car with you, Spike. That's why I had to push David Letterman's car back all the way to the airport, through the gate. His hangar is set back from the gate, so he's standing out there like this, and I'm pushing his car going, hi, here I am with your car. Get it there, and he's like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know, like the gas pedal's all screwed up. And we open up the rear deck lid. One of his detail guys had left a cleaning rag on top between the linkage on the throttle, and so when I pulled down, it snapped the linkage. It was not my fault. It was not my fault. My job was saved. The detail guy got fired, but I was okay.
His 9-week contract or 12.
Yeah, but the whole thing, I lost like 20 pounds that day from stress. It was very nerve-wracking.
I don't know if I would have even been able to drive it. I think I would have gotten half a mile and kind of been like, I don't want this pressure.
Look, I'm on the other side of it now, and I let people drive my cars all the time because I know what it's like to a lot of times people don't get a chance to drive these things, and that's what they're there for. And I've, now driven $10 million cars that belong to other people, and I've put people in my cars, and sometimes there have been accidents. I don't care. You can fix any of this stuff. And it's usually just like Car Matchmaker. It's giving someone an experience they don't normally have and opening their eyes to this stupid little hobby of ours. And usually they go, oh, now I get it.
And also, at the same time, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems common sense, like don't buy such a beautiful, nice car if you're not willing to sort of experience driving it and the mistakes that could go along with that.
Well, here's what I say. I say, who are you saving it for? Who are you saving it for? You're going to be dead, right? You'll be dead in 20 years, right? Yeah. Yep.
20? Whoa, no.
Okay. So why worry about your car? Go out and have an experience. Go out, buy a car that you know everybody's going to hate you in. Just go enjoy yourself because we all die in 20 years. It's a meteor is going to come down or something.
Have you tried to get Dave on the show?
No, I have not.
He's got time, apparently.
Yeah, he's got I do love the beard, though. The beard is fantastic. I mean, by itself, just keeping him relevant and all over the internet. I really like it. And I suspect, having, working in front of the camera, there's a lot of shaving. Every day you have to wake up and shave, right? That guy didn't wake up and shave this morning, right? He's very relaxed and comfortable. And the second your show stops, you don't want to do any of that stuff. You don't want to get haircuts. You don't want to shave your face.
No suit, no haircut, no
none
shaving.
of that.
Yeah,
no. So when you see him in the cargo shorts and the stained shirt and the crazy beard, that's just him relaxing. Jimmy Fallon did it. He was just off for the Olympics, right? And he posted some shot before he starts up again this week, and he had a big beard. No shaving. But you.
I shave a lot. I have to shave.
You didn't
every
shave
day.
this morning.
I shaved this morning.
You did? So that's a style choice.
Yeah,
it looks good.
It's a style choice.
All right.
This is
Excellent.
the new thing.
It's
Like,
I don't know why they're laughing. I'm giving you a compliment. It looks
I know
nice.
that you hosted a show. Maybe you clean shaved before, but now the host.
This is the way it goes?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure your girlfriend is telling you what to do, so it's all fine. I can't imagine what's going to happen when you get married. Geez, she's going to be sitting here. You'll be at home.
Look, I believe in equality.
She
has an equal choice.
That is
in,
not
in
equality,
how I look
my friend.
and shave.
This
and
is a one-sided
the
relationship.
cars that I buy and the decorations of the apartment and where my finances go and how I save and.
That's good. You will be a very successful married guy, though, because I've been married 15 years. I'm just learning what you already know. So
Whatever you
you're
want,
already
honey.
there.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right. That's
Spike,
exactly right.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about this, and I think you get asked about this in every interview all the time, which is the Soup Nazi episode of Seinfeld. You wrote that episode.
I did.
That is based on. Absolutely. That is based on, I think, of someone in the city, right?
Yeah, Al Yagina, the real soup Nazi. There's a real soup Nazi.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you talk about writing that episode, or even just writing on Seinfeld if you want a little bit?
Well, that episode, most of writing for Seinfeld was stories from my real life, and that's what I loved about doing, because I don't know, I just don't feel like I'm that good of a writer, but on Seinfeld, Larry and Jerry said, look, we don't want you to write stories, we want you to come in and tell stories. Little things that may have happened at a party or something that went on or something about New York. And then we'll see if we can turn it into an episode. The Soup Nazi was a real guy we used to get lunch at when we were writing for Letterman. That's where we went in the winter. We'd walk down the street. This writer, Dave Hansen, told me about it and said, you know, if you're going to come here and you're going to get soup, there's a way to order it. And if you don't, he's going to take the soup away. And I just said, what the fuck are you talking about? I can order soup. And he's like, not like this. And I went like that. And that first time I went, I didn't order right, and he took the soup away. I went, what is going on? And I said, let me try that soup. And I tried the soup, and I go, God, this is good. I gotta, how do I do it again? And the next day, I did it right. And after that, I was a Soup Nazi follower. So now, flash forward a bunch of years to my first pitch session at Seinfeld. And I'm sitting with Larry and Jerry in a room. You had to walk in by yourself and pitch them, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12, one or two top-line ideas, right?
Is this to get the job or what, when you have the
No,
job?
I've already got the job, and I've already gone through this once officially. Actually, twice. The first year I didn't get hired. They only had one spot, so the second year I did it again with Larry. But it's kind of a bigger version pitch because both Larry and Jerry are there, and you're by yourself, and the writers have told me, look, if the two of them start laughing really hard, you'll know you've sold the story. Not literally sold, you're already on staff, but you'll know you have an episode to write, and that's what you're trying to do. So I walked through a bunch of stuff that got kind of a tepid response, right? And I'm like, you know, now as I'm getting to the bottom, I'm like, there's less and less time here to get an idea on this show, and I'm getting really sweaty. And the last one, they're like, oh, that's kind of good. I don't remember the idea, but it's like, well, maybe we'll make that your first episode, right? And I'm really like, oh, I've stunk up the place. And then I just started babbling nervously. I just said, well, they were like, so how's New York? And I'm like, oh, it's great. You know, I don't know. The one thing I miss is this guy, the Soup Nazi. And Larry just cracks up. It's like, the Soup Nazi? What's the Soup Nazi? And I go, it's this ridiculous guy that sells soup and yells at people. He's kind of a misogynist, hates women, but his soup is fantastic, so everybody puts up with it. Now they're both laughing. They go, well, what does he do? And so, you know, I walk them through the whole thing. I go, you have to stand in front of the guy, order the soup, no extraneous conversation, immediately hold out your money and step to the left. And they're rolling and they're laughing, and they're saying, or if you don't do that, he says no soup for you and takes away your soup. And they start laughing really hard. They go, there's your episode. Get out. And I walked out of the room completely confused because I wasn't pitching. The writers pat me on the back. Great job. Great job. You sounds like you sold an episode. I go, yes, but about what? I have no idea. No clue. I was just telling them a story about
a show about nothing, you know?
It was. I've since gone back and looked at those ideas for that first pitch, and the Little Kicks was on it as well.
Which one?
So the Little Kicks, where Elaine dances.
Oh, yes, yes.
That was on there, and I believe the Muffin Tops was on that first pitch. But I had to drive those two through on my own after Larry left. Larry was gatekeeping the Little Kicks. He didn't like that one. He kept swatting it away. He didn't believe it, but...
I have to ask, what years were you on Seinfeld? Or which seasons? Years?
7, 8, and 9.
7, 8, and 9.
7, 8, 9, yeah.
Was there any, I mean, because when the show first started, it was called, like, The Show About Nothing, and I heard this interview with Rob Reiner where he talked about how he had to, sort of early on, convince Larry to do story of any kind. But then as the show progressed to, like, seasons 7, 8, and 9, and maybe, like, 5 through 9, it's so story-heavy, more so than any other sitcom, beat by beat. It's driving a story really, really fast.
Well, 4 stories. We had a story generally for every character that would then kind of dovetail in at the end. We'd always look for a little connection.
Is that how it was generally approached? Or, I mean, what was
I don't
the
know. I mean,
process?
I'm coming in late in the game when Seinfeld's already a pretty big hit.
Kind of a well-oiled machine at that
Yeah,
point.
and what I saw happen from then on was just, you know, actors who wanted, you know, they just wanted stuff to do every week. And Jerry and Larry wanted to service all of them and the characters. So what that generally meant was a story for everybody or some major involvement in a story.
Wow. I feel like most shows kind of have a story for everybody, but there's something specific to Seinfeld and how quick just sort of how quick it moved and how it tied everything together. Maybe it was the first of sitcoms that did that.
Yeah. Well, here's where it was just great. So you could, I remember coming, it was a pretty hot writer's room and writers are always having fun and making horrible jokes when they're not writing a script because it's just a way of relaxing, you know, so we're in the room. And I remember we had this writer's room joke about my girlfriend's ass. And that went a little like this. I just came in one morning, and I said to Jeff Schaffer, I'm like, you're not going to believe this. My girlfriend's ass woke up last night. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I go, her ass woke up and started talking to me, but she was fast asleep. And he goes, well, what did it say? And I go, it's just learning how to, we're just riffing now, right? It's just learning how to talk. So it's going, hello, everyone, hello. la 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 la, 1, 2, 5, and it doesn't even know how to count yet. And so that became this riff for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And it built up to this fun thing that was now a way we all related to each other. And I went back home one day and said to my girlfriend, "You're not going to believe this." She goes, "What?" He goes, "We're talking about you in the writer's room." She goes, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, really, we're talking about your ass in the writer's room." And she broke up with me. That was it. And there was no amount of explaining what I just explained to you that would get, she just was like, "What an asshole you are. You're talking about my ass." I go, "No, I love your ass." And it was gone. So then it became the sign. It's not in one of my episodes. It's in somebody else's episode. But I watch these shows now whenever I do see them, because I never watched them when they came out. But, and I see little parts of my life in the ones that I wrote. And it's funny because, you know, we forget. You forget all this stuff. I'd like to forget that story, actually. But
Right, your girlfriend broke up with you, whereas...
just about every episode that I wrote had to do with something in my personal life. Be it the Little Kicks, which was a real boss that I had that danced that way, the Jiffy Park guy, the Joseph and the Wig Master, okay? A real guy who was supposed to stay at my apartment. And he was the Wig Master for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And it was a real story. I was living with a woman at the time, and it was a real story about, like, how long is too long for a guest to stay, right? And also about, wait, you told the Wig Master that I didn't want him to stay in my apartment? He's going to hate me now, right? And so there were, you know, those were the interesting little social things we would explore.
Absolutely. I'm going to open it up to the audience for questions. Sure. Right here.
Hi, Spike.
Hi.
So you're not the only one with a car show. So would you ever consider teaming up with Jay Leno or Jerry Seinfeld to do some kind of combined show at some point, or even just an episode?
A new Top Gear with Jay Leno and Jerry Seinfeld and Spike Feresten. We'll call it Old Guys. You know, Jay's got an amazing show, Jay's Garage. I was just up in Monterey for Car Week shooting a pilot for Esquire on the auction scene and how much money, it's kind of a money, you know, the cars are selling for insane numbers. But Jay was in it. I emailed him the night before and said, "Would you come in and just tell us about Lamborghini Miuras?" And he said, "Sure, absolutely, no problem." And he showed up, and you know, I don't know if you know this about him, but last year at Pebble Beach at the Concours, I met up with him early with Jerry and Jay took us around for half an hour, and like an encyclopedia was just going, okay, the Tatra, this company was formed in Czechoslovakia, and this, he's got an encyclopedic knowledge of cars. Jerry is the same way about Porsche and Volkswagen and Fiat a little bit. But yeah, you know, here's something I can tell you about the car thing. It's a very inclusive thing. I find it to be, unlike show business, like if you're someone in the car space, even like our Instagram fans that show up in Malibu when we go on drives, you're kind of in the club, right? So you meet these kids who like your Instagram feed, and suddenly they're sitting with me and Jerry and, you know, the guy who runs Porsche's development team. You know, we just like talking about this thing.
I'm just happy to hear that Jerry Seinfeld's going to be happy with my choice of car that I bought.
I don't think so, no. Volkswagen just polluted the earth with their diesel. I don't know if you
Fortunately,
recall.
This is not a diesel. We checked on
it's
that.
fine.
So we were very careful.
I was actually, you know, that was a pretty smart scandal when it comes to cars. The kind of a we screwed up scandal, like we invented a piece of software that controls how much emissions are coming out when the car is getting tested. So you're like, well, it's kind of smart. But again, the Germans and gas, you know, there's a little sensitivity there. Guys, maybe we shouldn't mess with the gases. And then you have, like, Takata, the airbag scandal. These are airbags that explode the wrong way, and pieces of metal can fly out and cut your face up, and people can die. That's we're gonna screw you up kind of scandal, right? So I actually prefer the Volkswagen scandal over.
So did our car dealer when we were test driving.
Yes.
Volkswagen doesn't kill anybody. Other cars kill people.
Yeah. Well, that's what they said about cigarettes. So this is diesel emissions, and that does kill people in a place like LA. It's just years from now. Years from now.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, Spike.
Hi.
Could you tell us about your first car?
Yeah, well, my first car was just a car my dad brought home for me and my brother to share. It was a 1971 Ford Torino 500 with a questionable history. And you know, again, it was nothing really to look at. I remember it cost $435. And, you know, it was a cool thing that my dad was just going to give us a car. I was 16 years old. But my brother was at a party. It was his turn to drive it 2 weekends later, and he wrapped it around a telephone pole and destroyed it. So 2 weeks into ownership, my brother Wally, who's the cue card guy for Saturday Night Live, so if you want to find him on the internet and remind him, he owes me money for that car. Yes, still.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long has he been the cue card guy for Saturday Night Live?
I think I gave him I got him the interview way back in the day, and now he runs the company. He does it for Jimmy Fallon. He does it for anybody who's doing cue cards, pretty much. Conan,
That's incredible.
The whole crew, yeah. Wally, the cue card guy.
Did you get him the interview when you were, because you were an intern at SNL and Letterman a little bit?
It was when I was the receptionist at SNL. I used to make appearances on there. I used to do sketches just to make extra money on the weekend. And then when I went to write for Letterman, I would go back on the weekends. It was fun, you know, to be on stage with Mike Myers and David Spade and stuff.
Can you tell me a sketch that you were in that I can go?
I was in the, God, who are the two brothers? This is a real 90s quiz. What's that?
Not the Blues Brothers.
No, they had long blonde hair. I'm not that old, dude. The Blues Brothers, Jesus Christ.
Are you talking about sketch characters, or
what
are you
the
talking
hell?
about
I was this high when the Blues Brothers
Are you talking about the real music, like Nelson?
The Nelson Brothers.
Yeah, the Nelson
David
Brothers.
Spade and I were the Nelson Brothers.
After the Rain.
Yes, I was the other Nelson guy because I kind of looked like him. So.
If you don't know what the Nelson Brothers are, like, and you want a good laugh, go watch the music video for After the Rain. It's
there you
possibly
go.
the funniest music video ever made. Spike, Car Matchmaker, when can people see? It's tonight, the Keanu Reeves episode, right?
Tonight is Keanu, Wednesday, 9/8 Central on Esquire Network.
Absolutely. Spike, thanks so much for being here,
All right,
man. A pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.